I've sent more than 400,000 cold outreaches to businesses in my last 8 years as an entrepreneur. And the very first thing that I found is that lead quality doesn't matter as much as you might think. When you're starting a business and when you're sub 7 figures, you want to talk to every single lead that you possibly can. Because the thing is when your sales calendar is empty, if this is your calendar here and you've got no calls on the calendar, it's better to talk to someone who's unqualified than to talk to no one at all. Now, the only time it makes sense to really start qualifying your leads and getting serious about cutting certain people away from your outreach method is when you've got too many calls and you can actually have the choice to choose. But if you're not fully booked, and if you haven't got 8 to 10 slots on your calendar filled from your cold outreach, then it's better to talk to people. Now, here's the thing, different prospects have different levels of qualification. So some prospects might be 90% qualified, others might be 10% qualified. And those that are 90% qualified might convert at 30%. And those that are 10% qualified might convert at 3%. But the problem is when you remove these people and only try and talk to these people, is you're losing efficiency. Because you might think like, I don't want to talk to anyone that's unqualified, but what would you rather? Because 0% is someone who you don't talk to at all, and there's a 0% chance of them closing. But even if they have such a small percent chance of closing, it's still worth talking to them than it is talking to no one. But the second that you can start replacing the 10% or the 20% or the 30% with the 60%, the 80%, the 90%, whatever, then it starts making sense. But for now, people that are in that sort of 10 to 30% qualified range, you want to talk to them. And only once your calendar is full to the brim with these guys, do you then start qualifying and do you start cancelling? And this is a huge thing that I learned really early on is don't turn people away even if you think they're not going to close, because it's better to talk to someone than no one, even if there's a 1% chance of them buying. The second thing that I learned is to meet doubt with action. So as you start doing cold email, cold DM, cold calling, what's going to happen is your brain is going to go absolutely haywire. And it's going to start shouting things at you. It's going to start shouting doubts at you. It's going to start being anxious, and you're going to start to not think it's going to work. This is entirely natural because all this is it's your brain trying to protect you. Because you rationally, logically know that if you do enough volume and you test enough and iterate enough that it will work. You do know that, right? Because it does, because businesses are built off of this stuff, and every business in the B2B space literally starts here, right? At least 99% of them. So it works. But because outreach is so associated with rejection and other nasty things, your brain wants to defend you, so it starts creating doubt and anxiety. And it's imperative that you learn to deal with this. And the second that you start to feel an inkling of doubt at any moment of the day, what you do is you pull up your phone or you pull up your laptop and you do more. I know this sounds ridiculous. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. The second that you start feeling that doubt creeping in and that sort of pit of your stomach dropping where you think it's not going to work, open your phone and start sending more. Because if we start to condition the brain where it associates feeling doubt and anxiety with more pain, then suddenly you'll stop feeling doubt and anxiety because your brain will just associate it with more work. And this is how you get rid of the doubt, and it's how you get rid of the anxiety, because it's like a operant conditioning, classical conditioning, Pavlov's dog style thing, where if your brain knows, hang on a minute, if I muster up a doubtful thought, I'm going to be met with an onslaught of work and more outreach and more cold calls, then it sucks. And so this is how not only you increase your volume, but it's also how you overcome doubt. Because the more you do, the more results you're going to get, the less doubtful you're going to feel. And what most people do is they get completely caught up and they get completely crippled by their doubt. And so I don't care if it's 3 a.m. I don't care if you're eating dinner with your family. The second that idea creeps in that it's not going to work, bang, open the phone, more DMs, get on the phone, more cold calls, open your laptop, more cold emails. Just meet doubt with action, and trust me, you're going to make so much more progress. The third thing is something called outreach lag, and it's really important that you know this, right? So if you send an email to someone today, then there is a period that we would call a latency, which is the elapsement of time between them reading this email, first of all, and then actually doing anything about it. This is what you want over here. This thing is the action, right? This is the action. But we've got a lot of things that have to happen between here. First of all, they've got to receive the email, then they've got to open the email, read it. A lot of people don't know how to manage their time, so they might put it on a to-do list and never do it. And so there is something called outreach lag. And this gets a lot of people, because what happens is a lot of people, they start doing outreach, and they start doing like 100 a day, or they start messaging, cold emailing, cold calling. And the thing is after a week, they're not really any further forward. Like, 7 days elapses or 14 days elapse, and, they haven't got many meetings, and it feels like they're doing all this work for very little result. But the thing is they're not accounting for latency in time, because the person that you emailed today might book in 30 days. You just don't know. But if you can be consistent and understand that the work you do today is likely going to be the clients that you sign in a month or 2 months, then it starts making sense. Now, the reason this is true is because to go from an email to $1 and make this conversion happen, i.e. cold emailing a stranger and getting a client, there's lots of little stages that have to happen between this. And if you're looking at the association between email and dollars, or cold calling and dollars, or cold DMing and dollars, and you're not seeing the dollars you want for the work you're putting in, just understand it might take, like, the sales cycle can be like 1 month, 6 weeks, 2 months sometimes. And so just do it consistently and it will happen. And don't let this latency, this lag concern you, because you just need to be consistent for quite a long time, and then you'll receive the reward. Now, number 4, and this is a huge one, is vagueness. So understand there are two main reasons as to why people book calls. It's incentive and it's curiosity. Now, the incentive, this is from your offer, it's from the results that you promise, it's from your clients, testimonials. This is the outcome of what people want, right? But the curiosity is a little bit deeper, okay? So there's 2 types of curiosity. We've got epistemic, okay, and we've got diversive. Diversive curiosity is the kind of thing that keeps you scrolling through social media. It's the kind of thing that keeps you watching the news. This is just like monkey brain level curiosity where, this is why you're just scrolling, or whatever the hell. Epistemic curiosity is curiosity that is sustained, okay? And this is the kind of curiosity that we want to basically get into our lives. So the question is like, okay, well, why does this matter when it comes to outreach? Because by keeping things vague, what happens is you stimulate the epistemic curiosity nerve in the brain. And basically, people will want to learn more. So one mistake that people make when they write outreach is they send these long emails and these long DMs, and it contains everything the person could need to know about the business that they're going to be working with and about your product. The reason this doesn't work is because by writing a little bit and then leaving the rest of it up to question, the prospect starts to fill this space with their mind. And by filling it with their mind, they're going to create loads of different scenarios on what it could be, and therefore they don't know what it is, and they don't know the truth, and so they'll just start chasing it, and they'll try and start figuring out how it works. And so what I used to do, for example, is if I was saying the word like pay on results in my emails, if I was saying like I can deliver this on a pay on results, I wouldn't say what it means. I would just leave it completely up to chance. And the same thing is true if I was talking about Facebook ads. I would talk about like paid media. I wouldn't say it's Facebook. I wouldn't say it's YouTube. I would just leave it up to question. And what this does when you use these vague statements is it pulls the prospect in. And people book calls really for these 2 reasons, either because they think you can get them something they want, or because they want to understand it just to keep themselves sane. And we have leverage in both points, and so if you can use both points in your cold emails, i.e. make an offer, but keep it vague as to how you deliver on that offer, people are way more likely to book. People love to chase knowledge, and they don't like having open loops of how things don't happen. So keep them curious and don't reveal it all on the call. Same thing, if someone asks for the price, someone asking for price is the ultimate leverage to get them to book a call. So don't tell them, just say, don't worry about that. Price is never an issue for our clients. I'll see you at 12 p.m. on Friday. How does that sound? Now they're still curious. Never close an open loop when it comes to outreach, because it's what keeps pulling people towards your offer. Now, the 5th thing is spin. So what's going to happen as you try and build your cold email systems, cold DM systems, is you're naturally going to start copying what already works. So maybe you look at your cold email inbox and you look at what works for you, or maybe you find a course or something like that. That's fine. There's no problem with copying. But what we want to do is, if you imagine that this is a script here, you're going to want to copy this word for word. But the problem with this is everyone's doing this, and as soon as everyone starts doing something, of course it doesn't work because everyone's doing it, right? The market becomes numb to this. So what I like to do is copy things, and this is how I built a lot of my outreach systems, is copy things and just add your own little spin, just a little bit of color. It doesn't take much to change it up enough for it to be completely different. But if there's a script and you find a script in a course or in a program, just switch it up ever so slightly. And I'm not talking like big variations here where you're overhauling the entire thing, because there's a reason you want to copy it, and that's because it works. But as soon as you start copying blindly, you fall into the same category as everyone else. And so what you want to do is just spin it slightly. Now, the alternative to this is where we have two industries. So we have industry 1, which is basically your niche, and industry 2, which is an entirely different niche or different business, right? So let's say that over here you have the electrician niche, and you're in a e-commerce course that teaches people how to start e-commerce B2B agencies or businesses. Now, what you can do is you can look at these other industries, and what's working really well here, and copy it over into your niche without much of a problem. And so one of my clients in my mastermind right now is a guy called Chris, and he helps electricians who are self-employed develop and learn specific skills to do with electrical engineering, so they can do bigger jobs and get paid way more money and move up the rank of their career and start their own business in electricians. And what Chris has done, rather ingeniously, is he's copied everything in my business completely word for word down to the color, but it works. And the reason it works is because no electrician has ever seen it before. Now, if Chris worked with agency owners, coaches, consultants like we did, then all that's going to happen when he copies, or like we do, all that's going to happen when he copies is people are going to be like, oh, that's Charlie Morgan's funnel, or I've seen this before, and it's not going to work. But because his niche is so far apart from mine, he can copy it word for word and get this insane advantage. And so what you want to look to do is you want to look at other industries or other niches or other markets and bring what works there into here, because ultimately there's not much difference between someone who runs an electrical engineering business and someone who runs a marketing agency. Yes, they're going to respond to different things, but the human brain and their human nature at a base level is pretty much identical. So you can copy across and it works really well. This is something that we teach in Easy Grow, which is our paid program. And if you want more information on Easy Grow and how this would work to help you get more clients, you can click the link below. Shameless plug over. Let's move on to number 6. Now, number 6 is a big one, and this is outsource desperation. So basically, a lot of people, they don't like doing cold outreach, and that could be cold email, could be cold calling, could be cold DMs. It's understandable, right? It sucks. It makes you feel very sad, unhappy, angry boy. The problem is a lot of people, because they're so desperate to outsource this thing, they outsource it too quickly, or they try and just get a done for you solution. I have never, and I know this sounds insane, I have never found a done for you solution that works for more than a couple of months. Okay, so I've tried VAs, I've tried appointment setting agencies, I've tried cold email agencies. It's incredibly rare to find a done for you service that works. And I know it's incredibly rare because I've tried to find it and I haven't found it. The reason, in case you're wondering, is because the secret to making this work is volume and focus. And whenever you take on a done-for-you person and you try and outsource it, what usually happens is this done-for-you person has lots and lots of clients, and maybe 6, 7 clients, and you're just one person paying them $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month or whatever of 6, which means that you're not getting the focus and volume and attention from this person that you need. And this is why it works better when you do it yourself, because, well, you care. And this is why it works a lot better than when you do it yourself, because you care a lot more. So my point here is, do not be too desperate to outsource this. Only outsource it in-house once you have a system that works, okay? So your duty and job and obligation to your business is finding a system or a process that works, which, by the way, would be an Easy Grow in the description. I'm joking. But you find something that works, and then you hire someone to do the thing that works. A virtual assistant that you pay $3 an hour is not going to have the skill set to set high-ticket $1,000 appointments for you. The same thing is true with most done-for-you appointment setters. Is the reason they're appointment setters is because they tried to start a business and it failed, and so they don't actually have any skills. It's just it doesn't work because they don't understand your market and what qualifies people. They don't understand your offer, and you're just going to get bad quality. And it's very hard to find a done-for-you solution that works. But the problem is because you're so desperate to outsource it, because doing outreach causes you so much significant pain. You try, you're just like, of course I can outsource it. I'm a business owner, I shouldn't have to do this. And what happens is this sense of entitlement creeps in. But all this entitlement is it's a shield against having to do the painful work. And I don't know about you, but a pretty stupid way to try and get rich is by knowing that you need to do something yourself, but feeling so much pain that you justify not doing it. So don't be too desperate to outsource this. Only outsource it to someone once you know what works. And the process of doing that is basically hiring them and giving them the process that works, as opposed to having them figure it out themselves. Okay. Now the next thing, number 7, is quality. In this world of outreach, we have a dichotomy. We have quality and we have quantity. And these are two sort of different poles of what people say is good and bad. And so quantity is when you're sending hundreds of messages every day, just sort of spamming people. And quality is when you're sending like maybe 10 messages a day and you're sending looms and you're doing audits, and it takes a long time to send each one, but you ultimately send less. Okay. Now, a lot of people are in the quantity camp. A lot of people are in the quality camp. Some people swear by quality, some people swear by quantity. But what you want to learn to do is basically merge the two. When you start doing quality, which means that you're sort of sacrificing a little bit of quantity and you're sacrificing a little bit of quality. So instead of sending like 200 a day or 10 a day, maybe you just send 50 or 60. What this does is you get the benefit of both, but it's like if you take quality or quantity to an extreme, the benefit of going to the extreme each side diminishes. So, if you start sending 300 a day, 400 a day, like the emails that you're sending or the messages or the calls that you're sending are going to be so templated and just like crap that no one's going to respond. And if you go to the extreme of quality, where you're only sending like 2 a day, then you're not sending enough volume. And it's just like going to either extreme doesn't make any sense. But if you can figure out how to spend maybe 4 to 5 to 10 minutes per approach, and that way you can get, 10 approaches done an hour. And if you do it for 4 or 5 hours, you can get 50 done. This starts to make a lot more sense. And if you merge and marry these two together, we get incredible results, because then you send enough to get the volume play and to get the benefit of volume, but you send enough quality that everyone that you send registers on a way better level. And the way that I like to do this is basically with like a Loom video or a PDF or a picture or just something that literally takes no more than 2 minutes to make. And that way, you can make then an email or a cold DM or even a call that's kind of a little bit different by doing a little bit of research or whatever, but you can get one done every 5 minutes, and then that way you can just churn them out regularly, and everyone you reach out to is going to be impressed. But you're going to reach out to enough people to impress enough people to actually get results. So number 8 is POC versus scale. So a lot of people, they talk about scaling cold email or cold DMs or like their setting system or their cold calling system. And they talk about trying to achieve this exponential scale where they can just start sending way more. The thing is that's fine, and it's an admirable thing to want to do, is scaling, but you can only scale what is proven. And so basically when it comes to doing cold outreach, your priority, number one priority, should be to find proof of concept or POC. Okay? That you shouldn't be trying to book meetings. You shouldn't be trying to schedule appointments. You just need to be trying to find a proof of concept. Because the problem is a lot of people, when they start trying to get meetings, and when they don't get meetings, they start panicking, they start freaking out. But what you want to learn to do instead at the beginning, at the very start of any new campaign or structure, is just try and find POC, proof of concept. Just for things just something that works, right? And you might be thinking, well, that's just basically appointments. And yes, it kind of is. But when you start hunting for proof of concept, what you're doing is you're hunting for something that works, not appointments. And the thing that works is way more within your control, if that makes sense, because then it becomes about testing and becoming scientific, as opposed to just blindly sending and desperately trying to schedule appointments like you're a blind, like you're just some blind man just throwing your arms around, just hoping it works. Proof of concept, it focuses your attention on what actually matters, which is empirical testing, and it helps you manage your emotions way more, because then if something doesn't get you appointments, you're not panicking, freaking out. You're like, oh, okay, well, how can I change this to find proof of concept? And that makes sense. Now, the good news is once you've found proof of concept, then you can go balls to the wall and you can scale this thing all the way up. But what I see a lot of people doing is they try and send 400, 500 messages a day, and it's like, it goes crazy. But if they haven't actually got POC, they're just wasting their time. And your time is way better invested if you think about it in a linear fashion, where you're kind of like making a little bit of progress, and then bang. And the thing is that the majority of your time spent is going to be here, not sending as much, but a second you do find proof of concept and this sort of escape velocity kicks in, we fly all the way up. So number 9 is it's all about the offer. The quote, you might not know the quote, but there's a quote, I think it's from Shakespeare, that says that a rising tide raises all ships. And the point here is that there is way more leverage in your offer and in creating a compelling offer to include in your messaging or your cold email than there is in volume or fancy copywriting. Because really there's two things that are going to get us success here, and that's basically the offer and the copy. The copy is basically where you can manipulate the words you use to make them sound really compelling and persuasive, and you can spend all this time theory crafting your copy and like putting the bullet point like here and then changing the tone of that, and then a lot of people spend a lot of time doing this. But what I found is the best copy is simply a good offer. And so my best ever outreaches and campaigns from a DM perspective, cold email, cold call perspective, is literally just a couple of lines where I'm literally just stating the offer. When you have a compelling offer, you don't need to write copy. You just need to, the copy is basically a statement of the offer. And if the offer is good, then it takes care of itself. Instead of spending all this time theory crafting a crazy, compelling, super persuasive like piece of text, which you can still do if you have a good offer, just make a good offer. And if you're wondering what makes a good offer, it's literally just the risk reversal. And it's literally just the outcome. And it's literally just the time frame. Okay? This thing needs to be relevant, and it needs to be slightly different and positioned slightly differently. This thing needs to be as quick as possible, and this needs to be compelling and juicy, where you're doing pay and results, you're guaranteeing money back, you're working on a pay per appointment basis or whatever. If you literally just reach out to someone and say, "Hi, John, I've looked into your business and I can get you exactly what you want in no time flat, and if you don't get it, there's no risk on you, and it's basically free." Like that's the template that works, is state what they want, tell them you can get it real quick, and if they don't get it, the risk is reversed onto you. And then if you keep it vague, they're going to be curious and you're going to schedule appointments. But what I see a lot of people doing is they rely on the copy, and then their cold emails look like this, where they've just got dozens and dozens of lines of just persuasive jargon, and then it just doesn't work because people just don't care. It just cut through the noise of the offer. So number 10, sort of coming on off the back of that, which is it's kind of a similar camp, is that it's all about the result. When you're talking about what you're doing and when you're talking about your service, never ever talk about the features, never ever talk about the how or the why, just talk about like basically the outcome. Okay, so we want our approaches to be outcome driven. And what this means is that you're not hopping on and talking about Facebook ads. You're not hopping on and talking about any sort of feature. When it comes to business, right, we have the how and we have the outcome. What a lot of people do is they talk in their cold emails about how they're going to get this person the result, and they make these big statements about like, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and it's all about this, but nobody cares about that. What you want to do is talk explicitly about the outcome, right? So let's say, for example, that you did recruiting, and let's just say that you were a recruiter. Let's say that you recruited, back-end software engineers for platform-based social media companies, and you work for big social platforms and you help them find platform engineers, right? What you could do is you could write a cold email to the CEOs and basically say, hey, so I'm going to help you get like engineers for this thing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use LinkedIn, and then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use this whole 5-step interview process, and then I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to qualify them. No one cares. All they care is that you deliver them engineers that actually get the job done and are actually talented and good. And so what makes way more sense is just saying, hello, I'm going to get you engineers. And then I don't really know the jargon of that world, but you'd list out the more advanced thing. So for example, when I used to work with gyms and I used to run a marketing agency, I got to 7 figures with cold email and cold calling and cold DM. All my competitors were talking about, hey Jimona, so we're going to get you members, and the way we're going to do it is we're going to run Facebook ads, we're going to do database reactivation, we're going to do bang, 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 bang. And then it just triggers the feature brain in the mind, and nobody cares about features. What I used to do is I would say, hello Jimona, I'm going to guarantee that you sign 100 members in the next 90 days, and I'm going to get you qualified appointments ready to buy in the door that have their wallets in hand and they have enough money on that wallet to afford your membership for 12 months. And it's going to make you rich, and it's going to help you become financially free enough to start another gym or hire a manager so that you don't have to work anymore. The outcome is so significant in contrast to how you get them the outcome. On a sales call, they might ask you to explain the how. And they might say like, oh, how does this work? And like, what's the cause to effect relationship between me getting this and you doing that? And, but they don't really care. They don't care how it works. They just care that it does. And so you want to build your campaigns accordingly, where it's all outcome driven, and you never ever talk about the how or the why. You just talk about the fact that you can do it. And if you focus on that, not only are they going to be curious about how it works and they're going to schedule a call because it might be something different than what they've tried before, but you keep them latched on and focused on the outcome, which is the sole reason that people buy and invest in anything in the first place. So number 11, and this is a pretty obvious one, but I need to stress this, it's all about the follow-up, okay? So I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, like I said, I've sent more than 400,000 of these damn things. It's follow-up, right? I've probably made 400,000 cold approaches, initial cold approaches in my time. But in terms of follow-up, I've probably sent 2-3 million cold messages, cold emails, cold calls, just following up with people. It is all about the follow-up. Okay. And what I mean by this, when you reach out to someone, I used to do this where I would reach out to people individually, sometimes 8-9 times. What I can tell you with absolute utmost conviction is that the majority of my appointments came from here. This isn't necessarily cold. Okay. Let me explain something here, because we have 2 stages. This is where it's cold. So when you reach out to someone via cold email and they don't respond, I would typically email them back, 4 times or 3 more times before I gave up on them. But if someone was warm, and let's say someone responded to my cold email or my cold DM or my cold call and they were interested, then I'm going to follow up on them like 9 times. It's kind of similar with like Facebook retargeting or YouTube retargeting, where if you're advertising to a cold audience who have never seen you before, you don't really want people to see the ad more than like 2-3 times, because then the frequency spikes and people don't buy. But if it's warm traffic where they've seen your funnel, your YouTube channel, then you can advertise to them with like a 10-15x frequency and get insane results. And so the second that someone demonstrates interest in what you do by replying positively or replying to a DM, or basically sending a thumbs up, or like, I'm interested, or call me back later. Like, as soon as you get an inkling of interest, 10-time follow-up. Like, you want to follow up on them like at least 8-9 times over the course of a week or 2, every day, every other day, consistently, just relentlessly. And this is how you book the meetings. This is the secret, is the second you get interest, is all of your meetings from that interest are going to come between follow-up 5 and 9. And I know this works because, like I said, I have literally sent millions of follow-ups. Now, the way that you do follow-up is you keep it really simple, and all you're doing is you're bumping. So what this means is all of my follow-up messages look something like this, where it's literally just like simple one-liners that can be responded to instantaneously. Most people do follow-ups. They start sending these essays and these long things. All you really want to do is basically just a one-liner. Like, what do you think? Or like, how should we proceed? Or should we book a call? Or, what do you think about this? Like, how are you feeling about this? Like, it's just literally, all your follow-up messages should be no longer than like 6 or 7 words. And then if you want to do this, you can also start attaching results and pattern interrupts. So a pattern interrupt could be like a GIF or a meme or, a music video or something, just saying like, saw this and thought of you. What do you think of the video that I sent you? Like, let's say, for example, that I sent someone a cold DM and they showed interest and they didn't book a call on the first message. I could then send them like the music video to Staying Alive. That dun, 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 Staying Alive. Like, I could send them that music video and say, I'm trying to do this whilst I'm waiting for your response. What do you think of the video? What do you think of the initial video I sent you? Just wherever you can, you want to interrupt the pattern, because you're going to be sending like upwards of 10 follow-ups here to these people. And if every single follow-up looks the same and just merges, what starts to happen is the person they're not going to be interested in responding, because it's just the same thing. But as soon as you start including GIFs, memes, videos, pictures, selfies, PDFs, and then also results from clients, if you have them, then we start getting some serious results with our follow-up, okay? So it's all about the follow-up. 90% of and I literally mean 80% of your meetings are going to come between follow-up 5 and 9 on warm prospects. And 80% of your meetings on cold prospects are going to come on follow-up 3 and 4. So if you email someone and that's it, and you email them back once, done. But most of the follow-ups and most of the meetings you're going to get are going to come around follow-up 4. Now, you don't really want to go beyond 4 follow-ups when it comes to cold. Warm, you can get away with like 10, but just bear in mind, it is all about the follow-up. The other thing as well, and you know this, we've all heard the Hormozy quote, volume negates luck. It's all about volume. It is all about volume. Because what's going to happen is you're going to basically establish something called an appointment booking rate. And what this means is appointment booking rate is the percentage chance of booking an appointment per 100 outreaches done. And let's say that you have an appointment booking rate of 1%. Let's say that you want to double your meetings. So what you want to do is you want to 2x the amount of meetings that you get. Right now, you have a cold email system or a cold DM system that achieves the 1% appointment booking rate. There's two ways that we can go about increasing this. So let's say you want to 2x it, you want to 3x it. There's two ways that we can do this. We can either change the system. So we have to rewrite this cold email and re-engineer this cold email so it's basically 2 times as good, or we can increase the volume. So increasing the volume is where we send 2 times more, 3 times more. And increasing the system is where we try and we change the entire thing. It is significantly easier for you to figure out how to send 2 times more or 3 times more than it is for you to figure out how to increase this. Because you have to make this email twice as good or 3 times as good to get better results. And you can scale a 1% ABR because, let's say that right now that you're getting an appointment booking rate of 1%. You might think that's crap. I have to reach out to 100 people. But if you start sending 300, if you can figure out how to become efficient here and send 300-400 of these messages a day or emails a day, now you can start booking 3 to 4 appointments a day. It's way easier to increase volume than it is to change the system because you have to rewrite the email and now you've got to test it again. The second that you find a shred of proof of concept, I don't care if the appointment booking rate is 0.5%. If your appointment booking rate is 0.5%, then if you send 200 a day, you're going to book an appointment a day. And if you book an appointment a day, that's 20 appointments a month. Let's say that 75% show up, so 15 appointments a month. And let's say you convert 20% of those. Well, suddenly you're looking at 3 clients a month. And if you're running a done-for-you business or a high-ticket business and each client is worth 4 to 6K, that's now 10K a month. You don't need a crazy appointment booking rate and you don't need a system that works incredibly well. You just need the guts to make a huge bet on volume and send as much volume as you can. So if you wanted 2 or 3 extra results or 10 extra results, just figure out how to send the proportional amount to how much you want to grow by instead of trying to change. Because we all want a 5% ABR, we all want a 3% ABR, and there's leverage in that. But it's way easier to just don't mess with the system and literally just send 2 to 3 times more. So there's 12 things that I learned. Now, if you are an agency owner, coach or consultant and you need help getting more clients, there is a link in the description you can click, which will explain our program and how it can help you do that. Truth be told, I don't really care if you click it too much or not because our calendars are year-round full anyway. But if you do want more customers, I know that sounds ridiculously cocky, but if you do want more customers, we can help you get them as we've done for more than 2,500 people. So check it out if you want. If not, I don't care. Bye.